With me today is Peter Koley from Gaensel Energy Group. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us and giving us some more information about Gaensel Energy. Of course, OTC market symbol GEGR. And Peter, I know you've recently joined the company as a chief financial officer and director. So give us your background and what brought you to Gaensel Energy.
The background is I've been working in Europe the last 25 years within Switzerland and Italy. I have a master's degree here in Italy, and mainly in project funding, compliance, large-term project funding, things like that, and working a lot in the finance. And since 2017, was collaborating with a hybrid law studio here in Rome that was already consulting to Gaensel.
Sounds like you've had a very interesting career so far. So, and I've seen a lot of press releases lately from Gaensel on new corporate investments. So there was one I wanted to ask you about, Monfer SRL. So can you give us some background on that company and how does it fit into the Gaensel ecosystem?
Okay, so Monfer is a company essentially set up inside of a shipbuilding yard in a company called Fincantieri, which is one of the largest companies in Italy, and it's probably one of the 2 or 3 most important shipbuilding companies in the world. They're really heavily involved in the manufacture of cruise ships, also very large ocean-going vessels. And we got excited about the company. They have an amazing, let's say, portfolio of bookings and billings that go into several years. So they're solid on the commercial side. It's a classic thing with companies like that. They're in a period where they can really start to grow, but they've got cash flow problems. And so we've just been coming in on the backside a lot through also the new CEO, just trying to look and see what we can do to help a lot of these companies improve their cash flow status. So we're not really looking at this in terms of financing something that's going bad. Okay, we look at the company as we want to come in and we want to make it better. Something that's already there. So it's kind of a different way to look. We're trying to think out of the box, I guess you could say right now. And by doing that, we're applying a lot of funds that the chairman's bringing in and some of the other shareholders, the PPM programs, and we're trying to work in a way where we distribute, let's say, what liquidity we have in terms of investment into a broad portfolio of firms that don't need to be actually saved. They just need extra oxygen or extra fuel to move forward with their plans. And that's generally a big problem in a lot of small, medium companies, is the cash flow situation. They're looking at bookings and billings and stuff like that. We're trying to analyze these things and just set them on track and get as little involved in the actual management of the company itself. I'd say we're more observers to what's happening than the actual management. So if the management looks good, we come in, we leave the management in place, and we just, try to keep them on track, try to keep the machine as well running and oiled as we can. That's the purpose. And
so is that how Gaensel's able to make these acquisitions? And the fact that you're kind of hands off, does that also help in terms of getting the company to agree to an acquisition?
I think so, because it allows the original, owners, founders, principals, however you want to say it, the people with the ideas to still move ahead. And we kind of give it, it's a way to look at something and not just kind of try to come in and turn it upside down and say, let's do it our way because we know what we're trying to do. It's constructive criticism the whole way. And with the new board and everything that's been named in the past 2 months, we're a broad board. We've got our chairman and Juan Giardino, he's part of it's called Confcommercio, which is kind of like a trade union, chamber of commerce, all in one. There's more than 20,000 companies and professionals just in Italy that are part of that. We've got a woman acting as our CEO, also Italian based in Rome, Maria Bombino, and she's also able to do a lot of things. Been working on mergers and acquisitions most her entire career. Putting these things together through the context of the studio where I'm at, through the context of some of the other shareholders, it becomes kind of like a family. And we kind of look at these things, we're trying to form a group and, move the group forward, because in the end, we're quoted on the stock exchange, there's shares involved. It's not just a privately held company that's put in a drawer somewhere. And to try to see what happens. So we're trying to just, like I said, think out of the box now. And people have always said, how can you do this? Looking into so many different industries and so many different things. And that's the way it is, because the concept in the end is more or less the same. There's people with an idea, they're making products or giving services. They're trying to sell those services. They've got finances that were available to a certain point. They're, I would say, not struggling, but they're taking baby steps. And then we come in and we're trying to see what happens now when we come in and make it work. It's a model that's been tested by the people that were there previously to the new board that's been set up. They saw that it was time to try and do something new, put a little, let's say, fresh oxygen into the program. And that's what we did. And since most of it's based in Italy and we're trying to expand from Italy on these companies, the idea was to bring kind of an international team in and see what we could do. So.
Okay, interesting.
The future is bright.
Now we're about ready to wrap up the third quarter of this year. What are you looking at as we end the third quarter and then as we head into the fourth quarter?
Okay, right now we're concentrating on the corporate level for us. We've concluded one PPM deal. We're working on a second and third one. So we're trying to, I guess you could just say it in real layman's terms, just fill up our coffers so we can continue in the direction that we set ourselves off at the beginning of this year. And, we're seeing we had let's say, a great start. The first quarter this year was probably the best quarter the company's ever had in terms of results. Second quarter, we're looking now to, have all the results in probably in the next days. And, we're just trying to push forward. Right now, the whole goal is to just keep it on track. We're not trying to push too hard, but we're trying to just keep everything on track. And let's say it hasn't been easy during this last period, the last 14.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, all of us were just trying to keep everything on track for the past 18 months. I mean, there was a lot of uncertainty there. And I'd say if you survive that as a business, that's a success.
It's I gotta say it wasn't easy. And that the toughest thing is when you suffer mostly on the commercial side, because that's when you almost go into depression mode, because you see sales dwindling, your costs, you've got overhead costs, fixed costs, there's a lot of things that come in. And when you see that, so a lot of these companies, the smaller ones, that's family owned or small groups of individuals that are managing, they kind of go into a panic mode. And so our goal was to say, okay, just stay calm, concentrate maybe on new markets, maybe some of the stuff you lost, you didn't even have to have. And then we started trying to work from the backside. Already been almost a year now, just to try to improve the liquidity situation, maybe reducing costs. That's always a thing, but, not to get away from the core idea of the business, to just say, okay, we have to fire half the staff just to, have better numbers on paper. The companies are small enough where we can do that. Company is much more flexible when it's small like that. The thing is, a lot of these companies, they don't have the possibility to go into credit, the banks, credit institutions, things like that to get loans.
Okay.
It's so complex, and Italy is already a complex country. It's very bureaucratic. And if you have to do things like this, the time lapse between when you see the need for it and when you can actually put something into motion to see the results of it, sometimes it's too late, or most of the time it's too late. Yeah. And so we're trying to bridge that gap. So if we're bringing in private finance or helping them do bridge financing or things like that, that's the goal. But it's just to kind of let them, as little intervention on our side as we can. It's more advice that we're trying to give. We're not trying to impose a footprint on every single company that's brought into the group. Yeah. So, and I think that's where we're having success, because we're a very diversified group of people now on the board and managers. And we've been through ups and downs in all kinds of industries. So I think, we've got some good indicators and things like that. We know the direction we're going, and I think we just got to be patient, and we're going to see. But even not pushing, we're seeing some very interesting results. So. Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. And you're right. I mean, at a time when you're a little panicky and kind of scared about a business is not always when you make the best decisions. So having a fresh set of eyes, like from Gaensel, coming in and looking at things is, I'm sure, helpful to an entrepreneur.
that's I got to say, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is just, behind the scenes. Sure, we're working on our own finances, partnering. We've got our own growth path set up. There's a lot of things, and we've just got to get the group together, get things consolidated. I say it's going to take another 6 months to really see the form that we have in mind that the whole group is going to take. But it's really running quite well now. Already the first 2 quarters this year, more or less, confirmed what we believed over the last 3 to 5 years. So I think we're headed in the right direction.
Okay. Thank you so much, Peter.